the National Department of Health has embarked on a journey to legalize and regulate African traditional medicines in South Africa and the practice of African traditional health practitioners. We now listen to the Deputy Minister of Health, who has recently inaugurated an interim council on African traditional health practitioners, who is going to speak to us more about what government intends to do with the regulation of African traditional medicines and African traditional health practitioners in South Africa.
Leon, I think the public is aware that there are many types of traditional healing systems. There's the divinity side of it, the faith healers, there are herbalists, there are traditional birth attendants. So to try and understand this field of traditional medical practice, it really took us a long time. I think since 1994, the traditional practitioners have been demanding that they must be recognized as part of the indigenous knowledge system. But we also are aware that there are many unscrupulous practitioners that are bogus, that are also doing wrong things that are not in the interest of the public. So, and in line with the WHO framework for incorporating traditional health medicine in the national health systems, as well as the African Union declaration of a decade for African traditional medicine, we are now at a point where we have developed legislation in 2007, and we have inaugurated an interim traditional practitioners council, which will have a mandate of 3 years to put systems in place to register those that are legitimate and to develop norms and standards to protect the public. You are aware that we regulate the public sector, we regulate the private sector, we regulate the NGO sector, and this is an area that had not been regulated for all these years. And to protect the public, we also need to regulate that.
Now, apart from assisting the ministry with integrating the African traditional medicine to the national health system, what other responsibilities will they be handling?
The main area, Leon, is that the sector needs to be regulated to protect the public. I think that's a fundamental issue for us. Secondly, we also know that sometimes when people are on treatment, patients are on treatment, they also take traditional medicine. So we must start understanding what they are taking and how that relates and interfaces with the medicines that they get from clinics and hospitals. I'm very happy that more than 10 universities already in South Africa, the Medical Research Council, as well as the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, have been doing research studies for quite a number of years. So we have a body of knowledge from which we can be able to understand more this sector and be able to integrate those that are useful and relate, so that our doctors and nurses can relate to this sector. In the best interest of the patient, that is really our main point.
Will we see some universities actually introducing African traditional medicine into the medical curriculum?
At the moment, the focus is on research, understanding the herbs they use, and some of the herbs are not complex. We know they work. For instance, the aloe, we know that aloe works quite well as an antiseptic, and we also know that some of the herbs that we use finally as tablets are purified throughout, and yet the African traditional practices still use them in their raw form, and a lot of roots. So the universities have been mainly dealing with the research on understanding what the medicine is all about, the traditional medicines are all about, how they work and all that. And they will also come up with, this council must also come up with what we call a pharmacopoeia. So a list of medicines that are used, how they work, what are their effects, and also what are the side effects.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, our responsibility and duty constitutionally and through the National Health Act is to protect the safety of patients.
All right. Well, what about Chinese medicine? I mean, we've seen a lot of doctors steering in that direction, the use of Chinese medicine. As a country, is that something we are looking into?
All this form part of traditional medicines in general.
Okay.
The council is not an interim council only for African traditional medicine. It's for traditional medicine in general. But a number of the other traditional practices are also regulated. We've got a council that is regulating, for instance, issues of reflexology and all that. So, yeah, but any other medicine that falls under traditional practice will also be accommodated in this work of this council over the next 3 years.
Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Ramokgopa is the Deputy Minister of Health here in South Africa.
What does this mean for African traditional health practitioners? We took a visit to the Mpumalanga province, KwaNdebele, at the Tembesilahani local municipality to speak to African traditional health practitioners and hear what they think about the regulation of African medicines in South Africa and how that is going to affect their practice. We were interested to know if they are involved in the process of regulation, if they know about it, and what they think. Here is what they had to say.
Siyavuma, mina ngiyavuma esayidini la government for ukuthi mhlambe sisebenzisane no government. Ngiyavuma ephuzweni lokuthi sizinyanga sibanengi and then uma mhlambe singazisebenzela ngaphandle kwecontrol. Ngibona ngathi angeke kube right ngoba omunye nomunye umuntu uzofuna ukuzilawula ngendlela yena afisa ngakho. Kodwa uma ugovernment angathi ukungena kuzoba nomthetho ozosilawula. So ngiyamvumela ephuzweni lelo ukuthi ugovernment asikodwa engingakujabulela ukuthi ugovernment kumele consulte izinyanga. Bese nalabo bantu abazosebenza kuma lab lawo kube abantu abazinyanga. Ebayobe batrainile. Sibazi ukuthi inyanga ugovernment angasiletheli abantu yena aziyo ukuthi mhlawumbe ubathatha kuphi. Kodwa singajabula uma ngathatha izinyanga ezifundile ngalezi hlahla futhi no government azinikeze iexperience more yokusebenza ngale machine. Kodwa singakujabulela ukuthi lezi hlahla lezi ezizotesta from ku laboratory kube yizinyanga ezazi ukuthi lesihlahla esisoze sisebenza so and then futhi kuzocheckwa nokuthi sigood kangakanani for umuntu. Yes, for ama measurement kubalulekile kodwa esifuna ukukwazi ukuthi abantu abazoyenza ama workshop under government akube abantu ebathwasile ebazi kangcono ngamadlozi. Asifuna ukumelwa abantu abakhetha ugovernment abanganalwazi ngamadlozi.
At least to government ngabe kusebenza exactly thina inyanga sisebenza ngayo ukuthi la sekudinga isintu akusadingi government akusadingi isilungu njengoba nathi sisebenza njengayo mina umuntu ngamona ukuthi yabona lo la akusadingi mina
I-act mina ngizwe ethu nge-research eyenziwayo University of Western Cape. Mina ngiyibona inkinga ngoba vele bese kukhona lokho ukuthi kufanele siphathe incwadi zokuthi mangabe siye emahlathini noma sifuna ukungena endaweni kumele sibe nezincwadi ezishoyo njengezangoma ukuthi sizangoma ngempela ukuthi sinalo ilungelo lokuthi sikwazi ukwemba imithi nanokuthi yes sikwazi ukuba nemithi ekuwukuthi ingeyethu nathi siyazi ukuthi siyalawulwa ugovernment. Angiboni inkinga lapho. Into engingayisho nje ukuthi njengoba ngisho ngithi mina inkinga ayikho yabo ngoba vele bese njengoba ngisho ngithi sesiphatha incwadi sihambe siyogubha ngazo mawungenayo awunalo ilungelo lokungena lapho. Kanti futhi manje ibingalawulwa ugovernment ngaleso sikhathi kuba ama-organization. Manje kuyinhlangano ngeyinhlangano ezihlukile, enye ezinye ziyavuma lokho ezinye azivumi lokho, kodwa mangabe manje kubizwa ugovernment siyacabanga ukuthi kuzoba into nje yawo wonke umuntu efanayo, kungabi nalowo oza nowakho umthetho kule inhlangano nalowo aze nowakho umthetho. Ugcina ungasazi nawe isangoma ungasazi ukuthi unalo ilungelo nalo lokwenza lokho uma ngaba awuyi kule nhlangano, kodwa makwenziwa ugovernment ngibona ngathi kulungile impela. Inkinga nje izoba sekutheni imithi le yethu thina siyiboniswa abogogo silele kuthiwe umuthi onje uhambe ugubhe kube wakho. Manje mangabe ugovernment uzothatha kimi kungaba kuhle ukuthi awuthathe ubizo ngokuthi ungowami ubizo elami igama ngoba uze ugujwe wahamba wayogujwa yimi, and then ugovernment athi makawulawula awulawule ngaphansi kwegama lokuthi uthathe esangomeni esiwuzibani bani kube negama lalowo muntu. Ngaleyo ndlela ngiyacabanga ukuthi nabogogo ngeze bathukuthela ngaleyo ndlela ukuthi sesingene mhlambe isilungwini kakhulu sakhohlwa ukuthi le mithi siyiphiwa yini. Cabanga ukuthi mhlambe singahlukumezeka lapho mangabe ugovernment akakuvumi lokho ukuthi imithi ibizwe ngamagama wethu, asazi ukuthi kuyozala. Ngiyacabanga la ikhokheni kwemali ugovernment kufuneka sicabangele njengezangoma phela thina asiholi uhola ngaleyo ndlela osebenza ngayo ngokwedlozi, futhi kufanele sicabangele ukuthi imali esizokwazi ukuthi siyikhokhele. Kodwa ke bese ukuthi le ndaba ukuthi kulawula amalandle namahlathi yebo kulungile ngoba kunenkinga la yokuthi abanye bethu bahamba bayokwemba imithi. Umuntu ahambe isihlahla sonke asikhiphe akhohle ukuthi kumele ukuthi siphinde simile sizokwazi futhi ukuthi nomunye ozayo noma naye ngakusasa makabuya aphinda sithola. Phindelana emalandleni nasemifuleni kube nalento ukuthi kuyangcola. Manje njengoba kungcola nje kuyafuna ukuthi angithi mhlambe kuhlale kuhlanzekile ngaso sonke isikhathi. Kufuna kwazi ukuthi kungene bani mangabe kwenzakala iphutha futhi ngoba imvelo phela fanele siyigcine ihlanzekile ene ilokhu injengoba injalo ngoba yiyo esisizayo thina zangoma kakhulu isebenza ngemvelo. Manje imvelo manje mayingagcinekanga kahle kuzoba inkinga ekutheni thina siqhubeke nokuthola lezi zinto esizidingayo. Ngibona mina kungasinkinga kodwa lapha emalini ugovernment kufanele sicabangele ukuthi hayi phela government mafuna ukusisekela thina sifuna ukuhambisana nayo government, angahambi yedwa phambili ngemithi yethu ahamba yoyitesta wena ungekho usele emuva. Njengoba bengishilo eqaleni ukuthi umuthi ophiwe ugogo wakho kumele ukuthi uze uphume negama lakho kuthiwa umuthi kazi so utestiwe so waziwa ngempela ukuthi lo muthi uyasiza ke usiza lento wena abathi abogogo bakubonisa yona ukuthi kusiza entweni enje. Sike thina anginayo inkinga nokuthi asihambisane no government, kepha ke ukuthi uhambe like sikhona phakathi angasibeke eceleni futhi asifuni ukuzwa bezosinikeza ireport, sifuna ukuzwa into ebesinayo siyenza sonke ngaleso sikhathi sibe ukuthi siyabuya siyayikhuluma ngoba sibe siyenza sonke, hayi kube ugovernment ohamba phambili. Bese mangabe ukuthi makuhamba isikhathi ngiyacabanga ukuthi mangabe sokuqale lo mthetho kuzoba nokuthuthuka okukhona njengokuthi sibe nawo ama-lab wethu. Siyafuna thina ukuthi abantu bezothatha imithi kithi ukuthi itestwe yithi sizenzele ngoba nokuya esikolweni lokho sesiyakwazi ukuyiyela esikolweni ukuthi siyokufundela lokho ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sizenzele.
Nikeli ijaji ukuthi akuna umuzakhe yasa ugovernment aforce kulesibhedlela ukuthi ebe nguye owezakhipha lezi mali thina sihlangane ngo-administration yabona and ingabi nomunye uthini
senikhamba ngama-level then izoba uthoma ukuthi uyabetha ukuthi uyagijima sokuya loyo munye then umthetho ube khona bese umthetho lophilanga iyo mlambo uyabizwa engazinyazi bengabathi lakathi ngoba wena uyi-inform bawungagijimisa abanye bona bawugijimisa lapho ebethelo ngangitshela ngami yabangigijimisa sikhulu silapho kamerafila 1978 no 1976 bengiba istart uphathe inyanga mina.
Sizwile manje ngoFebruary ka-2013 i-Deputy Minister of Health uDr. Gwen, I think uGwen still connecting igama lakhe Ramokgopa uGwen Ramokgopa ekhuluma e-TV lapha ukuthi i-council le interim council ye-traditional health practitioners iyabekwa seya-inaugurate ngazibuza ukuthi njengoba i-inaugurator le council ikhethwe nini
siyazi na
yakhethwa ubani labantu abahleli laphana kule council babekwe ubani. There are many unanswered questions regarding the regulation of African traditional medicines and the practice of African traditional health practitioners. Many practitioners seem to have no problem with the regulation process, whilst others indicate that it will be a problem for government to interfere in matters that should be governed by African traditional health practitioners themselves. There are divided views. The biggest problem, however, seems to be the fact that most of the practitioners have not been involved in the legislation process. Some of them are hearing about this legislation for the first time, the majority, in fact, whilst others have heard about it and have not been involved. Moving forward, it is going to be very important for government and the interim council on traditional health practitioners to engage African traditional health practitioners more to ensure that this legislation becomes a success, to ensure that whatever that needs to be implemented regarding this legislation involves the public that is concerned. Kanya go sila